Joining me now is Special Advisor to President Donald Trump, Tony Sayegh. Tony, thank you so much for being here with us here at the Daily Caller. Are there any similarities between the Bill Clinton impeachment and this impeachment effort against President Trump?
Well, other than they're both impeachment processes, which happen very rarely in the history of our country, there are a lot of differences. In the impeachment process for Bill Clinton, House Republicans and House Democrats agreed on a set of rules. House Democrats were able to call witnesses. I believe they called 14 of their own witnesses. They were able to enter evidence into the Judiciary Committee process, which is the first stage of any impeachment trial. The House Judiciary Committee is the committee of jurisdiction, or at least should be, on impeachment. It's not the case now. In the Senate, during the Clinton impeachment, you had a vote of 100-0 agreeing on the rules of how the Senate trial would be run. There was a fair process by which President Clinton at the time was given an opportunity to legitimately defend himself. Also during the Clinton impeachment, you had a crime identified. You had perjury. Perjury is a crime. You get disbarred for it, as he did. You get, consequences in any sort of court if you've perjured yourself. So there was clearly a legitimate crime at the center of the impeachment trial. Here, Adam Schiff takes over. The Intelligence Committee takes over the impeachment hearing, gives no due process or the constitutional right of privilege to the executive, does not allow us to introduce our own evidence into his case, gets to decide what witnesses we can and cannot call. We asked for the whistleblower, we didn't get it. We asked for Hunter Biden, we didn't get it. The real material fact witnesses, we were not allowed to get. They gave us a few witnesses that they had already decided were adequate. And during the entire proceeding, Adam Schiff acts as judge, jury, and executioner and is not held accountable at all. By the way, I should remind you, during the Clinton impeachment, you had a special prosecutor, Ken Starr, who was held accountable for his investigation, had to testify and defend his investigation. Adam Schiff didn't show up. A total no-show to the Judiciary Committee, sent some staff to go talk to that committee, a sign of complete disrespect and, frankly, lack of confidence in his own investigation. The other part of this that is interesting to us is they've actually not identified an impeachable offense. They're essentially impeaching the president because they really don't like him. And they come up with two very weak articles that have very thin rationale behind them. And it's because, in spite of all their star witnesses and all of their talking points and hyperbole, they've not identified anything impeachable at all because the president did nothing wrong in this entire process. He released the transcript of the call that is central to this entire proceeding.
There are 71 members of the House who were around during the Bill Clinton impeachment era, and it turns out some of the high-profile Democrats today who are very in favor of impeaching President Trump had different thoughts back in 1998, even strong words against it. Is that something that you've examined, just even their own words against impeachment?
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about Jerry Nadler, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
None more outspoken than Jerry Nadler, who now is the chair of the Judiciary Committee, who basically got their right to run the impeachment stripped away from them, from Nancy Pelosi. Why? Because Jerry Nadler was not viewed as having done a really good job during the Mueller hearings, and how that dismantled, again, because there was no proof or evidence of any collusion, any obstruction or wrongdoing by the president. You see the pattern here, Stephanie. There's always the smoke and cloud and pizzazz of the charge, but there's never there's always a fizzle when it comes to the evidence to prove the charge, and that's what we're going through. That's definitely what we're going through again. But Jerry Nadler had, warned against using impeachment on partisan lines and how it was going to be bad for the Constitution and the country, and he was right. Listen, I think part of the fact that the Clinton impeachment happened not too long ago should offer Democrats a historical perspective of how Republicans, may have done things, incorrectly then, and not to follow some of the exact mistakes that Republicans made then. Impeachment should be something that has support from the country. It should be something that has bipartisan support, like the Nixon impeachment ended up having. This shouldn't be something you could simply do on a party line vote.
How do you think this will affect his campaign? I've heard kind of like a narrative that, this is going to benefit the Trump campaign. I'm not sure I'm buying that. I don't think impeachment is good for anyone, but maybe you disagree.
Well, look, a baseless, hyper-partisan, reckless impeachment is not good for the country. It's not good for the Constitution, it's not good for the institution of the presidency, and it's not good for Congress. That's why Congress has about a 7% approval rating today, as evidenced by the way they're conducting this business. Whether or not politically, there is an advantage or a gain, I think polling reflects that now. My suspicion is it will continue to reflect that throughout 2020. I've worked on a lot of campaigns in my career, Stephanie, and politicians who talk about issues they care about that people don't care about lose, and politicians who talk about the issues people care about win. Donald Trump is focused on the issues people care about. That's why he's worked nonstop since the day he's taken office. So whether it's about renegotiating trade agreements, cutting taxes, rolling back regulations, strengthening our military, building a wall on the southern border, making sure that we pull out of ridiculously reckless deals like the Iran agreement, making sure that he stands up for the American worker every single term, which is why we're seeing record unemployment, record manufacturing job creation, record wage growth for real hardworking men and women in this country. That is what people want to see their leaders focus on and work on and do. They don't want to see them focusing on this echo chamber of the Washington Beltway, elites in the media who are telling each other how important it is to stop Donald Trump, how important it is to delegitimize his presidency, and they're reinforcing it to each other. I mean, all you have to do is turn on Morning Joe and we'll watch a few of the primetime shows on MSNBC and CNN and realize that they're not talking to the people, they're not reflecting the opinion of the American people, they're reflecting the opinion of what we've known all along is driving this whole thing, which is a small group of elites who want to tell 63 million Americans they made a mistake by voting for Donald Trump in 2016, and they're trying to interfere with their opportunity to reelect him again in 2020. This is designed to be nothing more than a political hit job on the president who has been harassed from day one by this entire group.